and welcome to Your Stocks and our mutual fund special, MF Corner rather. I'm Ekta Batra and with me is Mangalam Malu. Well, it's turning out to be a session which is extremely quiet. It's a consolidatory kind of session that we're seeing, and no surprises there considering that we're the only market or one of the very few markets which are trading in terms of equities today. So currently the Nifty is at around 10,818. We have the mid-cap index which is just about flitting around as well. So that is down around 0.2% in terms of the index, and the Bank Nifty, a marginal sort of downtick of around 98 odd points is what we're seeing. A lot of heavyweights, however, seeing some pressure. So IndusInd Bank, Maruti, Reliance Industries, all of these stocks which are currently in the red. Hi, Mangalam.
Hi, Ekta. You know, what promised to be a listless session without volumes is without volumes still, but not particularly listless because we're at the low point of the day. Total cash market volumes close around, what, 13,000 crores as we speak, and we're done mostly through the day, around 66% of today's trading hours. The auto stocks, they're not doing too well. Auto sales haven't gone down well. So M&M is at the low point of the day. We have Maruti as well, like you alluded to that. And along with that, we have the metal stocks. So all the metal stocks were outperforming in yesterday's trading session. They're giving up all those gains. So we have the likes of Tata Steel, JSW Steel, both of them at the lows of the day. The mid-cap index still around that 32 points in the red. What we do is, first up, get you all the top stories that we're tracking this afternoon, and then answer all your mutual fund related queries. Before we do that, from Ekta, me, the entire team of MF Corner, wish you and your families a very happy new year. First up, all the top stories. Thin news and low volumes keep the markets mostly in the red on the first day of 2019. Nirmal Jain and Sameer Arora say the first half of this year will be cautious, but they expect the markets to fare better from the second half onwards.
Auto sales for the month of December get off to a slow start. Maruti reports a decline of 1.3% in sales with a 36% decline in exports. M&M sales come in lower than estimates. Expectations are that companies like Ashok Leyland will also report a steep fall in sales this month.
SEBI mandates physical settlement for all stock derivatives starting April this year. Deena Mehta says this is the best New Year gift from SEBI. Adds that this move will reduce expiry day volatility with immediate effect.
It's a breather for aviation companies as ETF prices are cut by 14.7% in Delhi, the second consecutive double-digit cut in 2 months. Liquor stocks like Radico Khaitan, United Spirits under pressure today after the Maharashtra government hikes excise duty on Indian-made foreign liquor by 20%.
Won't rule out a universal basic income scheme, says the Minister of State for Agriculture, Gajendra Singh Shekhawat. Also adds that the government is studying several options. Bond yields jump to 7.42% levels on prospects of a higher deficit. All right, with that, look at a couple of stocks. Nestle is at the low point of the day. Along with that, we have Tata Power 2, which is at the low point of the day. But much about stocks, we will keep talking about them. First up, all the mutual fund related queries, and to help us, help our viewers with all those, we have Pankaj Mathpal of Optima Money joining us in the studios to answer all your mutual fund related queries. Thanks a lot, Pankaj, for joining in. Wish you and your team a very happy new year as well.
Thank you.
With that, we move on to our first caller. We have Akash V. Kulkarni calling us from Karnataka. Akash, good afternoon. Happy New Year.
Hi, this is Akash here. So, happy New Year to you all and the cnbc team. Yeah, so my question to you is, I have multiple mutual fund portfolios, naming Tata Equity PE Fund and large and mid-cap, as well as Reliance Tax Saver and Aditya Birla Tax Saver. So, my total long-term is around 20 years. So, how good is my portfolio? And recently I started with the Canara Robeco Emerging Equities. So is it a good addition, or can you suggest on those things?
All right. So what would you make of his selection of funds? He has a 20-year horizon and he's just added a recent fund as well. What do you see his strategy to be?
No, funds are good in his portfolio, and the fund which I selected, Canara Robeco Emerging Equity, that is good multi-cap fund. So definitely you can add this to your portfolio. And just to achieve your goals, you will have to increase your SIP amount time to time. That is important. And second thing is that you have some large and mid-cap fund. You have this value-oriented fund. If you add one mid-cap fund to your portfolio and one large-cap fund, see, your selection should be something like 60% should go in large-cap, 40% around mid-cap. That is a good strategy for long-term.
Okay, all right. So that should answer the query. We have another one. Ankit calls us from Chennai. He has He has an investment horizon of 15 to 20 years and wants to assess his portfolio. Hi, Ankit.
Hi, Ekta. Hi.
Hi.
Good afternoon, and Happy New Year to you as well as the expert and to all the members of all the viewers of cnbc TV.
Yes, we wish you and your family the same, Ankit. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. So I've already dropped in my portfolio. So currently I'm investing around 20,000 per month across 4 SIPs. So I just wanted to know, like, is it fine, or I do need to, make some modifications in my portfolio?
Okay, so Ankit's portfolio is in fact flashing on the screen, and Pankaj, you can have a look at that as well. So that is his SIP breakup that he has at this point in time. So he wants to reassess whether or not he should continue with that kind of a focus or that kind of an investment. Maybe he should change around his SIP. What would you recommend?
No, you have a small cap fund in your portfolio, you have large cap as well as tax saving schemes. So if your time horizon is long, so it's a good portfolio. You can have some allocation in debt as well, or some hybrid scheme to just provide some stability to the portfolio. Otherwise, from long-term perspective, it's a good equity portfolio.
So would you reroute any of these funds into debt, or would you probably
these are
just
good
stick
because
to
he
this?
said 15-20 year time horizon, so he can continue with these. If only this thing that he wants something for short term or just to provide some stability, some additional investment of 2,000, 3,000 per month, that he can start in hybrid fund.
In the hybrid.
Ankit, do you have any immediate goals as far as money is concerned? You said, your horizon is 15 to 20 years.
Yeah, no, I don't have any, any goals, short-term goals. So I just wanted to invest for like 15, 20 years so that I can get the benefits of compounding and all that stuff. So as the expert said, like, I should invest in a debt scheme or a hybrid scheme. So is there any fund which he can suggest me for
Any
investment?
names you'd recommend?
So for tax relief, already you have this Aditya Birla Sun Life Tax Relief 96. So I said you continue with this. You don't need to add if it serves the purpose. But for hybrid scheme, you can invest in ICICI Prudential Equity and Debt Fund, or Aditya Birla Sun Life Equity and Hybrid Fund.
Just one more question. If he has the resources of increasing an SIP, any of his SIPs in the future, which one would it be, or would you ask him to start another
See, first
fund?
thing, if tax saving fund you have in your portfolio, that is only because we know the limit is 1,50,000 investment as Section 80C. So for this, if you need to invest to save your more tax, and if you're eligible for that, then only you should think. But this Canara Robeco Emerging Equity Fund is a good multi-cap fund. If you want to increase your SIP amount in equity, then think about this scheme.
All right, Ankit, hope that advice works for you, and continue investing that's the word coming in from our expert. Meanwhile, a couple of stocks they're buzzing around. Berger Paints has suddenly spiked to the high point of the day from the F&O space. We have Berger Paints about 1% in terms of gains seen just in the last 15 odd seconds. There we have it. Along with that, we have Apollo Tyres, which has taken a knock on the other side, currently sitting at the low point of the day. We have another query. That one comes in from Venkateshwara Raju. He calls us from Andhra Pradesh. He has divided his investments in multiple funds to achieve a corpus. Let's get talking to Mr. Venkateshwara Raju. Good afternoon. Mr. Raju? Right, I believe we've snapped that line, so I hope we'll try to reconnect with him. But meanwhile, he has investments in multiple funds. He wants to achieve a corpus of about 6 crore rupees for his child's education. So he's got Mirai Asset Fund, SPI Blue Chip, ICICI Blue Chip, and Canada Emerging Equity Fund. We have his query. 6 crore rupees is what he wants to make for his child's education. What would you suggest?
See, first thing, if you go with portfolio along with mutual funds, he has good investment in PPF as well as Sukanya Samriddhi scheme. Now, if you talk about long term, we have always seen that equity is the better asset class to create wealth in long term. But if you see your portfolio, you have more exposure in debt than equity. So my suggestion, you are young, increase your equity exposure. That is important. Scheme selection is good. And this one, but only this, I think, one scheme you have Prima Plus Fund. So that I'll say that that is the average performing scheme. If you can think about changing from this scheme, will be better choice. And additional investment, what you want to make, that divide in 4 schemes, one large cap, one mid cap, and one multi cap fund, or one hybrid fund. So don't keep too many schemes, 1,50,000 rupees, divide in 4 schemes, but that also invest in staggered manner. Do not invest all lump sum because we'll see more volatility this year as well. So my suggestion that if you are investing in equity scheme, invest through SIP and STP route.
Do you think there's duplication in a lot of the funds that he's invested in? He's investing about 1,50,000 every year in equity funds. There's Kotak Select Focus, Mirai Asset Equity, SBI Blue Chip, ICICI Blue Chip, Canara Emerging Equity, HDFC Mid Cap Opportunity, Franklin Prima Plus is the one that you asked him not to invest in further, and HDFC Small Cap. So is there a fair amount of duplication?
See, he has 2 large cap, 2 mid cap, 2 small cap like this, but the amount of investment is also good. So it's okay, he can go with this. Only the scheme which is not performing well, that I suggested that he should discontinue and change it.
Okay. All right. Well, we have another query now. Koti writes to us from Andhra Pradesh. She has investments in multiple funds and wants to evaluate the portfolio. So that, you know, the funds should probably just come up for you in terms of the portfolio that Koti holds. But in any case, Pankaj, what would you recommend?
For which scheme you are talking about?
Just the entire portfolio which is flashing on the screen.
Yeah, see, in this scheme, you know, the small cap is more, if you say mid cap, small cap, the higher exposure is there. See, in long term, there may be rally in small cap or mid cap in some time if you feel that small cap are outperforming the broader market. But if you want to invest for long term to create wealth, your ratio in equity in large cap and mid cap, small cap should be in a proper ratio. So my suggestion that he should have around 60% large cap, 30% mid cap, 10% around in small cap. So here my suggestion that from small cap you should have some more exposure in large cap. That is important.
Okay, and the time frame for that would be
just time frame. Whenever you think about investing in equity, it should be more than 10 years. That is the best thing, but not at least, if not 10 years, not less than 5 years. If your horizon is less than 5 years, do not invest in equity.
Okay, all right, Pankaj.
I'm talking about the mutual fund. See, when you think about the stock picking, it's a different thing.
I was talking about the ratio of large cap to mid cap. I mean, for how long?
Any point in time, when you talk about 5 year, 10 year, your
preference should be large
something
caps.
like this only. 60-70% large cap, 35-40% is mid cap. And in small cap, you should have very small exposure, 5 to 10% only. And that too, when you have good exposure to other capitalization, means large cap, mid cap, then only you should have in a small cap.
So he invests roughly about 11 lakh rupees per year across the various portfolios that will flash for you on your screen. And what he wants is 1 crore in 9 years, 1.2 crores in another 12 years. In the next 15 years, he wants 1 crore. And retirement in 20 years, monthly income of 12 lakh.
Yeah, that is quite possible because as right now his income is 2 lakh rupees and out of that he's investing around 85,000 rupees. So that is a good ratio of investment out of his income. But to achieve these all goals, he'll also have to increase his investment year by year, year after year with increase his investment. That is what's required. But as of now, if you see the saving ratio against his income, it is quite good.
Okay, so that's the query coming in. We need to take a break now with the news that the Nifty is just about holding static at around 10,821. We have a couple of these corporate banks which are seeing some amount of traction. So, for example, Yes Bank, Axis, both of these stocks are higher. But we have stocks such as IndusInd, which is selling off. So that stock is currently at the low
like
point.
Ekta said, the Nifty is absolutely static, but M&M continues to be under pressure at the low point of the day. Remember, the tractor sales weren't as good as what the street was expecting. So that stock down about 4%. And just as we speak, we're also seeing some decline in Eicher Motors. So that one should come off for you. That one's at the low point of the day. So let's await those numbers coming by as well. For them, Royal Enfield will be most important. But we have another query coming in from Mr. Damodaran Chelaya. He writes to us from Singapore, all right, and he has investments in multiple funds, wants us to assess his portfolio. So we've got a query coming in from an individual in Singapore. He's given the list of his investments. How do you assess his portfolio? He's got investments in, I think, 4 funds as we speak.
So all the schemes are good. You have small cap fund, you have mid cap fund, you have value oriented fund. Only what is missing, though schemes are good, but what is again missing is large cap. So my suggestion that you should add one large cap fund also to your portfolio to provide more stability.
Okay. All right. So that's the query coming in. Let's get in another one then. We have Freddie Bivera, who I think is an SM. Yeah, he writes to us. He wants to know the view on the SBI Tech Opportunity Fund. He's a professional, 34 years old, and he wants to know, he's an aggressive investor and he wants to invest in this fund from a 5-year point of view, Pankaj.
See, scheme is good, but it's a sector-specific fund.
Yeah.
So he has not mentioned that whether he has invested in other schemes or what kind of schemes are there in his portfolio. Sector-specific scheme may outperform the broader market for a particular period of time, but investors should have a limited allocation in this kind of schemes. So if you only you are seeing that within this sector, so I'll say scheme is good, but it should not have more exposure than 5 to 10% of your total portfolio.
And that goes for all sector specific
Any
funds.
sector, and any sector means when we say sector, time to time it changes, your outlook changes for the sector. So right now, if you're asking technology, it is okay, but some limited exposure only.
All right, so limited exposure to sector specific funds. Currently it's technology. Just keep ensuring that your funds or investments are diversified. Apollo Tyres again slipping away as we speak. At the lows of the day, we have MRPL2, which is at the lows of the day, and Nestle 2 continues to trade at the lower end of today's trading range. With that, we have another query. Raghav Sabharwal, he writes to us from New Delhi, has investments in SIPs, wants us to assess his portfolio. So Raghav Sabharwal's query from New Delhi, multiple funds, his portfolio? All right, so he's got Kotak Standard Multi-Cap, he's got ICICI Pru Blue Chip, just trying to get hold of his funds. Okay, HDFC Small Cap Fund, which is a direct plan, Kotak Standard Multi-Cap Fund, Axis Blue Chip Fund, ICICI Prudential Blue Chip Fund, he's got Invesco India Contra Fund, and Reliance Small Cap Fund. He is 37 years old, is a professional, has his SIPs running to the tune of 75,000 rupees per month. He's got enough funds for life insurance, medical insurance, or contingency fund. So this is
I
just
think his horizon goal is long-term wealth creation, monthly 75,000 in any case. I mean, what would you assess in
considering the
terms
long-term horizon and the kind of scheme he has selected is really good. He has all kind of scheme. Again, small cap fund, he has 2 schemes. By my only suggestion that sometime I've seen that in portfolio, people have, investors have high exposure to small cap. Only thing that small cap should form a part of a portfolio. So when you talk about long term, your allocation should be in large cap, mid cap, small cap, everywhere. So if you do not have mid cap in your portfolio, I'll suggest that you should have first mid cap, then small cap. So if HDFC small cap is in your portfolio, better you should have HDFC mid cap opportunity. That is a good fund.
Okay. All right. Well, we have another query now. Praveen VR writes to us from Kerala. He has investments in Axis Blue Chip and he would like to know what other funds to invest in. So he's around 25 only. He's a professional. So he started investing early. That's a good thing. He's started to invest in mutual funds last month by investing in Axis Blue Chip around 5,000 rupees. He wants to invest a further 15,000 on a monthly basis for a time period of 15 years. So he's looking at a couple of funds already, I think. He's looking at a couple of funds at this point in time. So, and Axis Blue Chip is the other one that he wants to.
See, all the schemes you selected are good. Only he wants to start investing in HDFC Small Cap Fund. My suggestion that if you are a new investor, first start with the mid cap, HDFC Mid Cap Opportunity Fund, which I even told in the previous answer also.
Yeah.
My suggestion that instead of this small cap fund, you start with HDFC Mid Cap Opportunities. All other schemes are good.
All right, all other schemes are good. Meanwhile, just keep an eye out on Atul Auto. That one's up 19% as we speak. The only company which showed a formidable amount of growth in their business in a month, where all the other stocks were actually underperforming, or all the other companies' auto sales did not do well. So Atul Auto is the one which is outperforming with a gain of about 19% and volumes piling up on that one as well. With that, we have another query coming in from Kolkata this time. Kaushik Das, he writes to us, has investments in HDFC Top 100, Mirai Asset Blue Chip Fund, and wants to achieve his financial goal in the next 5 years. He wants advice on the same. So he's got two two funds where he's invested the money. He's got financial goals which which perhaps he's written to you. So what exactly would your advice be?
HDFC Top 200 large
He
cap
has a
fund.
goal of buying a car.
Okay.
By the time he turns 28, so he wants some investments with
First,
regards
it's a very
to that.
good thing that for buying a car, instead of taking loan, he's thinking about investing and then
Investing.
buying a
And he's
car.
25, so
it's a
starting very
good
early
thing.
as well.
Because usually people, what they do, they buy the car and then they pay EMI.
Yeah.
So better start SIP, accumulate amount and then buy a car. And 5 years is a good time horizon for this. Only thing is that first 3-4 years you continue with the equity only. For the last year when you are near to the goal, then you switch to debt systematically. Both the schemes are okay, but in large cap, HDFC Top 200 is an average performing scheme. Though you have already started, your question is that started, shall I continue? So my suggestion, you continue with this.
Okay. All right, Pankaj. Well, on that note, we're going to thank you,
Thank you
for
very much.
taking us through all of those queries this afternoon. But for the markets, need to turn our eye on the fact that maybe the mid-cap index is probably just about going to break into the green, but otherwise it's an extremely quiet session. The Nifty is just about static. We have the Sensex, which is down around 100 odd points, really taken the day off in terms of any huge significant moves for the markets. Take a break, but we'll get you more opinion, more stock-specific action on the other side. Stay tuned.